I'm Jason Parrish, a Public Information Officer with the Butte-Silver IT Department, and this is Hike Through History. Hike Through History is brought to you by Parks and Recreation, the Butte Archives, the Superfund Division, and the IT and Health Departments. Join us weekly as we take a literal hike through Butte's history, from the B.A.N.P. Trail to Thompson Park. Each hike will be led by local, knowledgeable guides who will share trail information and compelling history. Today's hike is through the North Side's St. Mary's neighborhood.
Welcome to today's walk of the North Side neighborhoods, St. Mary's neighborhoods. I'm Dan Kelly. I grew up in Corktown until I was 11 years old and left unwillingly. This is Debbie Bowman-Shea from Muckerville, who was also traumatized when she left the hill. And Danette Harrington, who really never totally left.
They threw me out at 30.
But you're still in it. You're in Muckerville now.
She grew up in the Dublin Gulch and presently lives in Muckerville. So but we'll try to give you some highlights without boring you totally, and then advise you on which way to walk. We have maps available that Debbie will talk about. You can really start this walk anywhere. Those of us from the hill learned early how to avoid the worst parts of the hill. So this gives you a gradual hill to climb and not the steep Wyoming Street if you're going up. If you're very enthusiastic about your walking, hit it, and we'll show you a better trail up to the mountain climb that will test your endurance. Debbie can talk about how we got involved with this whole North Side project.
Well, several years ago, it was 2014, we decided to have a St. Mary's reunion. And so we contacted people and we asked them to come, and we had it in the original mine. And from that came a book, Butte's Irish Heart, Who Says You Can't Go Home? And we made enough money from that effort. It's a beautiful book to do 9 interpretive signs that are all around the St. Mary's neighborhood area. So that was our project. And this is the first one. It's the Anaconda Road.
As I said, this is a good starting point because we're really at the base of the North Side, right above the downtown area, or as people in the flat called it, the uptown area.
The Dugan House was built in 1910, still in excellent shape. It's in the National Historic Register. And he was a mortician, ran Dugan's Mortuary over on Montana Street, which later became Dugan Maryland, Dugan Dolan, and but this is where he lived. And across the street, that large garage that you see was his carriage house, and that's where he kept, I think he had like 8 different hearses, horse-drawn hearses, and the horses were kept in the lower level.
We're at the intersection of Pennsylvania Street and Ghanyan. If you've been to the archives before, there's a great quote outside the archives. It says, "Don't forget, Lizzie, when you get to America, don't stop. Go straight to Butte, Montana." And Mary Hagan's geography might have been questionable, but she had the right idea. Go where people are going to take care of you and where there's people like you. And she actually went to her aunt's house across the street, which we used to call Upperghanian, and that is where she lived with her aunt. Her father got a job in the mines and lived in a boarding house. We're going to head west to Main Street, and you'll be walking past St. Mary's Church on the south side, and there's a long set of steps on the bottom that led into the sacristy area. And then you'll see doors at the bottom that led into the church basement, where we used to have a lot of Keno nights, bingo nights, and different functions. And
if you won, I remember you got a sack of flour or something, and you were so thrilled to go home with that.
5 pounds of sugar.
You won something, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but the church was like our focal point. Not everybody was Catholic up there. And, that wasn't a big deal, but the majority were. And it was just our focal point. So many people went to daily Mass and Sunday Mass, and in the church basement. We had school functions there. We had our PE classes with Bert Van Meel in there, which is a whole nother chapter. But, they'd have socials and bingo events, and the League of Catholic Women would meet there, and nobody knew what they did, but they were long meetings, and they had a lot of fun at them. And it was just something that unified us. To this day, there are so many people, and myself included, that are just bitter that the way it was closed down.
There was a set of ore bins on this south side of the big gallows frame. The building that's got the covered windows, that was the engine room. That's where my dad ran the engine, was in there. And there was a crusher, and then a conveyor belt that went up, and then there was a set of railroad tracks that the train would come in, and they would dump the ore that would go up on a conveyor belt out of the shaft. It goes through the crusher, and then up the conveyor belt, and then it would load the ore cars, and then they would head to the smelter. And we used to be in the mine yard a lot. And I think I told the original story that we were in there one night and got on the conveyor belt and rode up to the ore bins. And once we got up there, there must have been something that triggered that we were there. There was a group of us. And so then we had to shimmy down a rope. Each of us grabbed this rope and shimmied down, jumped off the cars, and then ran all over the mountain with the gunman chasing us. It was horrendous. But I rode the conveyor belt from the crusher up to the ore bins.
As you walk along this reclamated area, you'll see fence posts on the side of the trees. And if you get to a place where there's two posts together, that's actually a gate. And we were told, I believe it's still true, I hope it's still true, that you are welcome to go in here as long as you close the gate behind you. The gate's up for deer, which we never had a problem with growing up either. I don't think they liked the noise.
Yeah, we walked 1,000 miles over this area.
Oh, God.
And right there where that parking lot is where the switch house used to be for the watchman. Kind of right there.
And it's such easy walking now.
Yeah.
But it wasn't then. You had the tracks and the...
Yeah. And it went to the lower Kelly and the upper Kelly, the set of tracks. One went to the ore bin and one went down further. It was a special time. I think there's so much gratitude to have grown up in that era where you didn't have any boundaries. You had some rules, but there was no boundaries. You didn't leave the neighborhood because you didn't know there was another neighborhood over the next hill, but you stayed in your neighborhood and you found something to do all day long. And I used to walk from the gulch to the side hill on my skates because I could never tighten them. So my mother would tighten them before I left. So I'd walk all the way from the gulch up above the Kelly Gallery, the hoist house, the engine room, come all the way down, cross the tracks.
No skate guards on.
I didn't.
No,
there were no such
we
thing.
never had skate guards.
And by the time you got there, they were as broad as the railroad tracks. You couldn't have skated 3 feet, but you'd stay anyway. And then you'd go to Mamo K's for hot chocolate afterwards. And I'd take the skates off and then put them over your shoulder going home, but couldn't tighten them, so I had to have them tightened at home.
But that was our house behind us, and usually our steps were full of people's shoes.
Oh yeah, that's where you
People bring shoes and put their skates on their front.
could sit there. Always had a fire, big fire going at the rink.
Yeah,
That's your front steps, right?
that's our front. Well, it was actually the night before my dad, before he died, and he talked to my mom and he said, "Irene, am I sick?" She said, "Yeah, you're pretty sick." He said, "Well," and he just started to laugh. And we're thinking, what the hell? But you'd have to know my dad. And he laughed and he said, "Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I die, I don't want to go to heaven." I was thinking, I'm not so sure you're going anyway, so might be moot point here. But he's out there. Yeah, he said, "I want to go back to Corktown." I said, "Really?" And he said it was the greatest place in the world.